you?
Sorry,
You look confused.
the connection was really bad for a second.
No, it's good, and we can hear you.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Yeah.
Like really good.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I love that. I know. I mean, I kind of have the inside scoop that I know that you're doing well, but you know,
Yeah.
for,
I mean, but it's not just like it's like inside and out. Like when there are good things going on, but like you just like don't feel that good, so you can't really appreciate them.
yeah.
Like lately, I find myself like I'm like smiling at like random things, and like I'm usually very like numb. Like I might think something is nice or funny, but I don't react.
Yeah.
And I feel myself reacting to things. And it's super weird, but I'm welcoming it. And I just think everyone is like incredible and beautiful and funny, and life is good.
That's awesome. You're finding the best and the positive in everybody. That means you're in a really good spot, right? That means you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, there's like some stuff going on, and I've been thinking about this issue a lot, and like it's not even an issue to me because I'm looking at it from a I'm really glad, not I'm glad it's happening, but it's happening, and what I can learn from this if I think the right ways about it,
Yeah.
and like step back, and like I was in the shower and I was thinking about this. I was like, this is actually kind of good, and anything bad that happens is kind of good because you can then learn from the
Yeah.
situation if you choose to. Some people get mad at the situation, but I realized I can't, because then I'd be mad, and I'm too happy. I don't want to be mad.
Think of how many people look at life like, I don't want to have any type of a struggle or any type of a problem because, oh, the trauma or whatever that could happen, and your perspective now bringing like, no, this is an opportunity to see how I respond in this particular situation, to choose how I get to respond.
Mm.
It's that whole saying of like, people, life is happening for you, not to you. So what are you receiving from this, trouble that you're going through? And it is so unrealistic to think that life is just going to be like this, even everything is fine all the time, no matter what you do. I mean, even if your routine is exactly the same, you don't have any control over so many externals, and you're gonna have to learn how to react to stuff, and you really can't know how you're gonna react until you're put into those situations. So it is a
Yeah.
blessing.
And I think the big part of the issue for many people is that they're stuck, and this goes for so many like personal issues to large issues in the world. People are stuck on the why did this happen? Why is this happening? Well, guess what? It happened. It's happening. Go forward with it. You
Right.
can't like now you're just trying to you're not solving the problem at stake. You're trying to problem solve like for a reasoning, and like
Well, and I think people want to predict why something happened. It's kind of like when somebody dies, people always ask, how did they die? Because they want to know if they're at risk of this particular type of death. So I think sometimes people are like, maybe they're just being sort of babyish about it. Like, why did this happen to me? But if they're being analytical, it's like, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't really matter why, because I think people are looking at prevention when they're trying to figure out why, like, how can I prevent this from happening again? But, you know,
well, I'm talking about like when people are like really angry about a personal situation.
sure.
At that point, you're not looking at how can I prevent this. You're just like mad, that a person
Like, I don't
caused
deserve
or
this.
right, and it's like okay, whether you do or don't deserve it, like it's happening. So like
Right.
and it's not, and it'll go away sooner, improve sooner
Right.
if you're like
Yeah.
if you focus on
Yeah.
next, not like what's behind it.
Yeah, I don't think it's even, yeah, it's not even really a problem solving issue. It's a pitying thing, you know? It's like wanting to wallow in this anger or the sadness rather than, like you said, accepting this is what happened. Whatever, from big things to like, yes, people die and it doesn't make sense, you know, to little things like somebody dinged your car in the grocery store parking lot. You know, it's like you could have done everything to try to prevent that. It happened. What are you going to do about it? Right.
Right, right. You can premeditate, you can know everything that could lead up to something, and then a scenario is going to come along that you didn't predict, or even if it's like, I don't know, like I've tripped on the stairs before, right?
Right.
And it's an interesting thing because like you're conscious of what you're doing, and then you trip, and it's like you really could not have prevented that. Like, I mean, even sometimes when you're watching your feet, you trip, and it's not like it happens all the time, but
Right.
I'm sure everyone has tripped in their life who has legs and can walk. And it's like,
Right.
someone might point and be like, oh, you should have done this. It's like,
Right.
I usually do. And I did this time as well.
Yeah.
But even though,
But
you're gonna,
the point is that you have to go through life and it is unsafe and you have to take risks and just do whatever you were going to do. And there's no predicting or preventing aside from the normal things that we do in order to live safely in society. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing else that you can do to be safe. And the thought of like, I think about this like, so I've been on dating apps for the last, I don't know, month and a half or so. And it's really interesting. I finally was just like, if you want to go out with me, let's go out. Because the whole dating thing, the whole texting to get to know somebody, just, it's like, okay, we've talked a little bit, like just go and we'll know in one day if this is worth moving on with. Because, but it's everybody's being safe. And I think there's this terrible phenomenon going on in society right now where everybody is lonely and they don't want to they want to do stuff but they don't have to do stuff with somebody to do stuff with. And it's just like you have to just take the risk and go out and do something, and whether it's a good time or a bad time or it leads to something or doesn't lead to something, you're going to learn. It's going to be an experience, and it's like act rather than like trying to be safe all the time. It's craziness to me.
it is craziness. When you said the thing about like texting before you, even though both of your intention is to go on a date and you both know this,
Right.
but you're gonna take that time. It reminds me of like, when you're like first going out. I mean, I haven't dated anyone in a while, so like, but I don't know if this is just like when you're younger. I assume it's gonna happen for the rest of everyone's lives. When you're first seeing someone and you're like sitting on like the couch together, and then there's that like, you get up, do something, you move a little bit closer, and then like, and like you're gonna hook up. Like that you both have the same intention or kiss something,
Right.
and you like start to like touch your skin together a little bit, and then like maybe someone's hand goes on your knee, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like I always thought that was hilarious because like
Right.
I think most people are just like doing it like subconsciously, but when you notice in the moment that that's happening, and like you can like it's like this like waiting thing, like you're not, I don't
Right.
know, it's hysterical to like be aware that it's happening because you're like, I know exactly what you're doing. I know
Yeah.
your end goal here. So just make the move. That goes with anything in life. Stop inching toward it. Like,
Yeah, I agree. And I tend to try to just be like, uh, break the awkwardness by like, the last guy that I dated, I was, after we had gone out a couple of times, and I was just like, I want to kiss you. I just am not, I'm, you know, like, I just said it, you know what I mean? Because it's like, otherwise, exactly what you said, you're just like, is this what, you know, sometimes you have to just put it out there, like, is this what you're thinking? Because I think this is what I'm thinking, and we can make it a little less awkward if we just kind of say what's going on.
And what's the worst thing that can happen if you get denied? You get denied. And
Right,
then okay, well,
right,
that's kind of funny too.
right.
Like
Yeah, but nobody wants to get hurt. Like you said, this is why they try to do everything to try to prevent themselves from
you're
getting hurt.
anticipating that it's gonna hurt, but
Right,
the truth is it's probably not gonna be so bad.
right.
Like, I
Makes you
mean,
stronger, right?
there's right. I mean, there are people that, when you like look up to someone but like are, intimidated a little bit. There are people who are like afraid to go, I've had people message me and say like, "Oh, I saw you at this gym or somewhere and I wanted to say hi, but I was nervous." And what is the word? And I've experienced that. And lately, actually really recently, I've told myself like, just fucking go say hi. Like go like if they're bothered by it, okay.
Right,
If I stumble on my words, okay.
right,
But the point is now I've initiated that contact
right.
and it's over. And something changes when you initiate contact with someone for the first time.
Yeah,
Like now all of a sudden you'll make eye contact if you see this person again. You'll feel more comfortable reaching out with a question, things like that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
yeah,
think so many people are just living in fear all the time, trying to avoid risk, to be safe, to be safe.
I get that, but it's like, yes, you're living in fear in order to be safe or resisting changes and stuff in order to be safe. But why is the automatic assumption that on the other side of that change or conversation or moment is something unsafe?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I guess the assumption is because it's unknown,
right,
but then again, why are you equating the unknown to the unsafe?
right,
Just
right,
like, it'd probably be fine, probably be great actually. So we should start equating the unknown with great.
right,
And
right.
I've been
Yeah,
around the country
absolutely.
4 times in the last 2 years. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's been pretty great.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like people are, they're just trying to play it safe because they don't want to get hurt in one way or another. But I mean,
Can I say bad things on here?
what's that?
Can I say bad words? Did we
Yeah,
talk or is that okay?
yeah.
I feel like you had to talk once that you didn't want to. I was gonna
Oh,
say
I think it just kind of depends. I think I kind of expect it more with these chick chats because we're more casual,
yeah. I'm really surprised I just stopped myself. I was gonna say they're pussies.
right?
I'll make sure you're okay.
You know that that word is actually not, speaking of that word, it's actually, it means something else. We just have associated it with like female vagina because the way it's actually not spelled that way.
Well, maybe you're thinking of a different word. That word doesn't mean that, and it's not spelled like that.
Oh, I thought you meant a dick. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's your other word for pussy that's not pussy?
Um, oh well, I'll say like a wuss, but the word is it's PUSSOI or something like that. Like it actually means like
French?
yeah, it's something like weak or something like that. But people just because
Yeah.
it's the word sounds the same.
So it's not equated to vagina.
No, it's not.
No, no. Like even when we use it, we're just using a translation of it.
Yes.
So it's just like a double meaning word that
Yeah. It's
like
like you have the two words and one is a euphemism for vagina and the other one means like something like a weak person or weakling or something like that. So they're actually two different words, but the spelling was people just like spelled it the same. And so we all were like, oh, that's derogatory to women or that's a related to women, but it's not. It's actually a different word.
So it's actually like its full own word that means
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
accurately used.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if people want to be offended by the word, that's because they're thinking it is associated with female vagina, like with a vagina, but it's not. It actually
So,
means,
so for those who get offended by it, you can them out on their ignorance and then prove it,
yeah,
and then they can't be mad anymore.
exactly. Exactly. But, people want to be offended by stuff.
Yeah, they want to be safe and offended at all times.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't be mean to me,
Yeah.
and don't surprise me with anything unsafe,
Yes.
or even potentially good but possibly unsafe.
Yeah. I think the theme of this podcast is going to be like, take the risk, you know? Because
Mhm.
like in anything, whether it's big or small, like what do you have to lose? There are interviews with people who are like old on their deathbed, and the number one thing that most people say their biggest regrets are not taking risk, not doing things that there were things that they wanted to do in their lives that they didn't do. Most people don't regret anything they have done. You always, I'm not always, but you can wish that things were different or could have, whatever, but you can't change that either. So it's like, what did you learn from it? Let's move on. But I think life is really about adding to your life resume and doing things, you know?
You listen to my, yes, I agree. Did you listen? I posted something from like Build Alpha on my story.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's still there. Ugh, okay, I'm gonna find it because it was. All right, listen.
Okay.
Something's important to you. It never,
Can
but
you hear
here's
it?
the thing, once something's important to you, it never leaves your mind. If you always dreamt about being a singer-songwriter and you never did it, you will be haunted by that at the age of 70 because it's still right here, stored in the back of your mind. It's something that's meant for you, that's trying to call to you. You see, your dreams, you either pursue them or they fucking haunt you.
Yeah.
And that's to say, like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. On the other side of pursuing that thing could have been something great, and now you're more miserable than you would have been otherwise because you were afraid of what might be of the journey of getting to where you want to go. People fear the journey a lot because obviously they want the thing.
Yeah.
You want the thing, but you don't know what's going to happen along the way or what it's going to take to get the thing. That's what people are scared of.
And the thing isn't worth having without the journey to get there, you know? I mean, it's like all the people that are, maybe a little bit younger than you graduating from college who think like, oh, I should have no student loan, I should have a house, a car, blah 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 blah. And it's just like, okay, but you're not going to appreciate that stuff or probably even be able to keep it if you don't earn it. And that earning takes time. It takes time, it takes failure. Um, there's like a couple of quotes that I love about fear. One is every fear hides a wish. And I believe I always think of that when I get trolls on social media. It's like you are jealous of me in some way, not maybe because of what I look like, but because I am being more brave with my life than you are. You're hiding. Those people are always hiding and they wish that they could be more. Otherwise, why would you say anything? You know what I mean? There's another one about fear too that I can't think of right now, but yeah, I think it's like the block for so many people. And you got to ask yourself, like, what are you afraid of? What is the worst? Like, I've had this with my therapist too. What's the worst thing it could happen? And I'll say, and she's like, and then what? Like, you'll handle it? Yeah.
That that's exactly what I'm my own therapist in that way. I tell myself that. I'm like, okay, so this and then
Yeah.
like fill in the blank. Actually, I told you I started doing improv classes.
Yeah.
Right? I had one today. And God, does it translate to life? I mean, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's you cannot premeditate what's going to happen because you don't even know what you're going to be asked to do.
Yeah.
Whether you might. yeah, there's all these different like games, and it's all based on you're completely improvising. And the worst thing that can happen to you is you can't think of something to say, you stutter on your words,
Right.
um, or
You know,
like
I don't know.
literally nothing can happen. You just have to go up and do it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's, yeah.
Yeah. One of Elise Myers is one of my favorite women to follow. I follow her on Instagram and TikTok, and she's like, she always like, people are like, how do you, I don't remember, it was like, how do you get rid of the fear of, when you're doing something? And she said, I do everything scared. It's like, yeah, is there any other way to live? Like, it almost is like, then you just realize how much more brave you are than other people, because it's like, we're all scared, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a brave or a comparison thing, because it's like, to me, like that is my attitude. Like I was literally telling someone earlier about the improv classes, and I was like, it's scary and I love it,
Yeah.
because I have intention with why I'm doing it. But I don't think it's bravery. I think it comes off of as bravery to those who are scared, who are fearful.
Yeah.
Or I think being scared and fearful are two different things,
Yeah.
right? So to those who are fearful, it's brave to go and do something that's scary.
Yeah.
But I'm not fearful. So something that's scary, it doesn't feel like it takes bravery. And it makes me uncomfortable when people say things like that, because I'm like, I don't like I'm not
Yeah.
denying, your perception of this, but like
Yeah.
my perception is that I'm not brave. Like or someone who does those things. Yeah, I mean, they're not necessarily brave. They just lack fear.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to think what's the difference between bravery and courage, but I mean, either way, I would take it as a compliment, because they are, looking at it from their own perspective, as though like, yeah, I would never have the courage to do what you're doing. So it is a compliment, even if you are thinking, yo, this is just what I do.
For
you know?
example, like if I squat 3 plates on the hack squat and someone goes, "Wow, you're strong," I'm like, 3 plates is nothing. Like, why, but of course, it is a compliment, and I'm aware. I know I have strength,
Yeah.
but it just there's that perception,
Yeah.
in a physical sense, where like to someone else,
Yeah.
that's crazy. To
Yeah.
me, like I've seen better than that. Like,
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people need to get to that place where it doesn't take the courage, you know what I mean? And then they wouldn't look at it that way. They would just be like, oh, this is worth the risk and it's what I'm going to do? So, yeah, I mean, and I think this happens from living this lifestyle and taking risks. So you probably don't think about it. Like when you were thinking about wanting to do the improv classes, you were like, no, this is the next step in my life. This is what I want to do. Whereas somebody who's at the beginning of this journey of taking these steps into the unknown might think like, this is going to take a lot of courage for me to do this because it's outside of my comfort zone. But you don't look at it that way because you do this on a regular basis.
I guess so. Like it's one of many things that, right, like going outside my comfort zone, but it's still, I mean, it took me a lot of processing of different things where this popped into my head, and like, I didn't have to convince myself to do it. It's just like I always, after I thought of it, it always made sense to do. But I wasn't the person who was ready to do that yet. Now I'm the person who's ready to do it. And
Yes.
eventually I'll be the person who I intended to make out of doing it.
Yes.
Right? Because
So
that's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to be who I want to be.
yes, and it is all accumulated the journey to becoming yourself. I think it's really sad though that we don't really become who we are until our life is over, but what a
Mm,
great story, right?
but that's the whole journey.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess you never really become who you are because you never stop
Yeah.
changing until you die. So,
Yeah.
you're creating new
Yeah.
things the whole time.
Do you ever think, I had a friend of mine who was like, if you don't think that you're constantly evolving, look at some of your Facebook memories, some of the things that you said or did. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like even stuff from a year ago. And you're just like, why would I say that? Like, why? Who was I?
Like I had a Twitter when I was like freshman in high school, sophomore in high school, and I feel like I might have gone back and deleted the tweets after some like later high school drama,
Yeah.
but I do recall like if you look at some of the things I'm like, or even writing on your friend's Facebook wall, you would put totally like inappropriate private
I know.
messages, like
Yeah.
or like put something up that like it's not even like oh no one cares. It's more like there's no reason to ever say that and
Right.
then put it online. Like
Yeah.
I used to take, Photo Booth, the app
I don't think I've ever used that.
on
What
a Mac. It's just your camera on your Mac and you take pictures and it has a
okay.
whole yeah. I s- I went on my Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook in so long, so I also don't know what's up there. But I used to like do like pictures. Like I'd just be, dressed normal and like whatever. But I would take like a whole like 60 something 100 pictures and post it as an album on my
Oh, wow.
Facebook. Like all the pictures are the same,
Yeah.
like and like that was, but then again, social media was used differently.
Yeah. It is weird to think about how it has evolved. I really miss pictures on Instagram and how the algorithm used to be, and it's so controlled now. I hate that it's so controlled now.
What aspect are you talking about?
I just mean like I feel like you're fed, like I'm following like, I don't know, 600 people and I see the same 50 people like all the time, 50 um accounts all the time. Like if I want to know what's going on with somebody, I got to find them. And I'm realizing a lot of us who have more followers, like our stuff isn't getting seen anymore, like I think of like Renee Jewett. I think she hides her like count now, but I know, it's like she's got almost 1 million followers now, and it's just like people aren't seeing her posts like they should. You know what I mean? So
What is what is hiding? What do you mean? What does hiding likes have to do with? I don't even know what that does.
so you can't see how many people liked the picture.
Right, but does that have an effect on the algorithm or something?
No, I think that it just like if you have 1 million followers, a good percentage of them should be liking and viewing your stuff. And so, you'll do that and then like people, you'll get like 2,000 likes on a photo and you have 1 million followers. It's like just I don't know. I just feel like those people earned those followers.
But are they hiding it because they're like that's not a big enough number?
Yeah, I mean it
Because
I
like I'm experienced. Not, I don't have a million followers. I have like 100 something thousand. But like
yeah,
I so actually last October I remember I was getting like
yeah,
that's when my following like really like blew up. It was after my season last year. I
yeah,
was getting like 14,000, 15,000 likes on my pictures.
yeah,
I think I got like 800 on one that I posted today.
yeah.
I mean, and to me, I'm like, there's nothing I can do about it.
No,
So
there's not.
whatever.
There's not, but like I said, I think lately I just have this longing for um how things used to be, which is kind of like, when things begin, like it's always really nice and then you really find out like what like maybe what the intentions were of Instagram were not to like now we can control it. Now we can add ads. Now we can make you do things to get paid for stuff. Now we can and it's a business.
I think a lot of well, yeah. I mean, originally it's made like, let's enjoy this app, and then it does become business. But I think a lot of that fine tuning that is such an issue and takes away from the original, what you really enjoyed about it.
Yeah.
That when you fine tune something, you're making a decision to eliminate or add, and there's not really a way to see if it's gonna work. It's just you have to do it, and then
Yeah.
things have to go in whatever that direction is. Like they're not gonna stop going in that same direction, and it'll branch off in different ways, but each decision, is gonna change things in the direction of that decision.
Yeah.
And so it's like there is no returning.
No, and
Like you can't.
everything is evolving. I mean, you could say that about bodybuilding as well. You know what I mean? Like the evolution of bodybuilding in the last 5 years, especially for the women's division, has been astounding, And I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying there has absolutely, things have to progress. They can't just be stagnant because, you know, as much as people like to be complacent, they don't like, you know, especially with sports, it has to become more. People have to be getting better. They have to keep raising the bar. You know what I mean? So
What's funny?
what?
I'm gonna see if I can like put this into words.
Okay.
So what people want to see from a sport or entertainment is bigger, better, stronger, faster, all those things. And the people who do those things are the ones who are able to make themselves get bigger, better, faster, stronger. And the people watching, and those people are going to be your most successful people in any facet of sports, business, anything. The ones who are getting bigger and better are also the successful ones. And then there are the people who want to see successful people getting bigger and better, but they don't want to get bigger and better themselves, but it's scary and unfair and I'm depressed because I want to be bigger and better. But I want those guys to get bigger and better so I can be entertained by it while I sulk about not being.
Yeah.
What is that?
So are you thinking of like people in the sport who are complaining about the evolution of the sport, but also want an evolution?
No, I think I went on a tangent there. I'm just talking about kind of what we were talking about before with like people who are like fearful and scared. I just thought it was an interesting connection there.
Yeah. Well,
Because
and
what we're talking about with the evolution is kind of egged on by those being entertained by the evolution,
yeah,
but who are not right.
yeah, and then they're devastated by the repercussions. I mean, even like, deaths in the industry. And it's like, well, you wanted people to push their, or you could say with anything, running a marathon, like people run ultra marathons or 60-70 miles and die, and then it's like, well, you really wanted them to win, but they died because their body isn't meant to do these types of things. So
Yeah, but like they're just taking an extreme. They're doing something to an extreme because they want to.
yeah,
I mean, someone might say, oh, it would be really cool to see that guy squat 1,500 pounds, but that guy is training to do that because he wants to train to do that.
yeah,
You cannot achieve that unless you want to.
100%.
Like, so like, bad things that happen in bodybuilding and whatever, it's like, well, it's like me using a tanning bed. I think I've told you this before, where my mom like really is against it, and for a while was like I can't respect your decision, and I had to explain to her that we have the same pros and cons list,
Right.
the exact same one, but according to my experiences and my desires, I think it's worth the cons.
Yeah.
To her, it's not worth it, and that's fine.
Right.
And the same with those people who take their bodies and their minds to these extreme places.
Yeah.
A bad thing can happen,
Yeah.
but look at all the incredible things that are happening
Yeah.
before the bad thing, if the bad thing is ever to happen.
This is why I think it's worth the risk to follow your passion, because I mean, you can look at somebody like Ronnie Coleman who who wouldn't change a thing, even though he is on his 17th surgery and practically wheelchair bound. He wouldn't have done anything any differently because he did it exactly the way he wanted to, how he wanted to. And, other people can look, like Jay Cutler could look at him and say, maybe that's what it took in order to be 8 times Mr. Olympia. And, Jay Cutler was 4 times Mr. Olympia, and he walks around with a good muscular physique, nothing like he took onto stage, but still very much looks like he lifts and seems to live a happy, healthy life. And I think both men are very happy with the paths they took, the risks they took, and the choices that they made.
Because each of those things, the extent that each individual went to fulfilled them.
Yep.
Right. And that's what, like, would you rather die fulfilled, like fulfilled, like you have reached enlightenment, but you have damage, but you're enlightened,
Right.
or not be enlightened and not have damage.
Right. This is why I think it's worth doing the things that you're scared of, because you aren't promised tomorrow. You don't know, everybody wants to live to be a healthy 80 years old, a healthy old age, right? But I mean, you could die at 60 and, not get those extra 20 years. My mom said, like, the hardest pill for her to swallow with my dad getting Parkinson's he was diagnosed at like 74, right? 74, 76, died at 81. Was my mom was like, he was going to retire and we were going to travel. So 2 years after he retires, he gets diagnosed with Parkinson's, and they didn't get to travel nearly as much as they wanted to. I mean, this goes into a whole other thing about how I feel life is so backwards. And again, like, if you want to go somewhere in the world, like, it's probably even worth going into debt for now when you can't afford it to pay for it later. Because if you're going to be old and wait, you might not get that opportunity,
Because what is debt?
Right.
It's something created by the industries in our society. Okay, and it might be a stressful thing, but that shouldn't take away from your life, because I mean, just like you said, that is so, and that's something I'm realizing now, is I'm like, oh, I won't be able to do these things until I have, until I've accumulated all this money in order to sustain the things I want to do.
Yeah.
But why not just like go do things and figure out how to make it work along the way? That's so much more experience in your life than what they say. Don't live, or no, that's not the right quote. But yeah, I didn't like that.
We're like pulling fortune cookies out everywhere. What is this one?
I don't like this one. We're gonna tear it up. New cookie. But yeah, I mean, that's sad. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lesson in it themselves, and I honestly believe, like, how much money you need enough money to have until the day you die. And I think a lot of people want to accumulate a bunch of wealth, and it's like, you can't take it with you. So, like, if you have money to make it until you retire, then you're going to be just fine. But you don't need to have excess. I don't know. This is my midlife crisis talking, probably.
I mean, money is a great thing, but it's also, I mean, financial stuff messes me up. Like, I have things like everyone should be making more money, should be doing more to make more money. And I do think that, because that's how our society works to live. Right. But that's just it. I want to make money to do the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
Not save the money. That's my mom told me this would happen when I was younger, and I can now appreciate it. She told me that I'm better off spending money on experiences than things.
Yeah.
Even further than that, what I'm learning now is that spending money on experiences doesn't just mean things like going to that festival you want to go to, or a concert, or whatever, or a cruise. It actually means spending money to be in the place and the life that you want. Like it doesn't have to be escapes,
Yes.
right? Like like the experience of like where I am now. I'm still paying for my apartment in Dallas, living in Tampa.
Yeah.
Not pretty. It's pretty here, but you know what I mean. Um, but I'm willing to like be in that stressful spot to create the experience I want, because I know that if I'm in a place where I can build and grow and take advantage of the things around me,
Yeah.
then it's gonna be fine. The money will come,
Yeah.
you
And
know, I will survive.
you'll have, and then a new opportunity will present itself. Like I love that you said that, because it honestly, it makes me think about too. I mean, Anna and I love where we live. I'm in an apartment. I've been here for a long time and in these apartments for a long time. And I always am like, oh, I would really like to have a house. I'd like to have some property. I'd like to have a barn. But right now, I'm content where we are, like you said, so we can have the life that we have. And if I had that next thing, we would be living a different life. So you have to sort of evolve as your life evolves and the opportunities present themselves, and enjoy and glean from the experience that you're in right now. And that's like what you're doing too.
Yeah, I was just talking to Adam Brammer, who is the head trainer here at MI40. He barbarian scholar on Instagram. He's super smart, and we were talking about how, like, I said to him, I feel like I couldn't be in a better spot right now. Like, I mean, he's extremely knowledgeable. There's some charts up here. We're doing class. I'm like I already know, like I know a lot about training, but I don't know the like I'm a good trainer, but I always feel like I don't know enough. I have imposter syndrome, like really bad, you know. But I said to him, like, I feel like I couldn't be in a better spot at this moment. And we were talking about like kind of like end goal is like obviously I would like to be a well-known bodybuilder. I want to be well known in the industry, whether bodybuilding, fitness modeling, whatever it is, training. I want to be known for what I do. Um, and I said, but I'm glad that I'm not there, that I'm not well known, that I don't have a million followers, because I need to experience this part so that I don't feel like a fraud when I'm there. If that were given to me, if it were inorganic, then as myself, I mean, sometimes I look at people who, start a online coaching after they do one show, like, and I'm like, wow, I wish I had the balls. I wish I could be a fraud and benefit off of it.
Right.
But I can't do that. It doesn't feel like I can't even, I don't even want it. I don't want it because I want the experience. I want what's gonna
Yeah.
get me to a place where I have now earned that
Yeah.
and can have it with confidence.
One of the hardest things about this sport is that you can know a lot about what to do without being able to necessarily know how to explain why. You know what I mean? And I think the why is really important. And I think that's a big part that people don't always learn. Like I always think about like, when cause same, like, right. I was a trainer. I have certifications, like I write people programs, but I don't always know you know, why you perform an exercise this way or that way. Like I follow John Jewett and Luke Miller with No Switch Fitness a lot. And, they talk about using the terms, the actual muscle terms and the alignments. And it's like, so I know why something might be better than another, but I can't explain it the way that they can because I don't know the musculature the way that they do. you
Right.
know?
And you can be a great coach just in that way. Just like I know that like I am a great trainer,
Yes.
even though I know what I don't know. And for me, like for online coaching for the most part, yes, it's great to be able to answer those questions, but or I mean for any coaching, for in generally, it's like it's really not important to know those things because you can still get pretty much the same. I mean, you could be doing all of the exact same things and just simply not know the mechanical terminology and the biomechanics of it, and it would be the exact same thing just without those answers.
Yeah.
So it's still perfectly valid,
Yeah.
but then right, but then it's like
Yeah. This is
it's
what
not even a question that anyone would ask me. It's just like it, I don't even you get
well,
it, but
this is what information is, right? Like information answers get passed around. So you might follow somebody on Instagram or whatever, and you'll see them doing an exercise and then they'll explain it. And then you're in your head, you might be like, oh, they don't know at all what they're talking about, but they do know what they're doing. And that's yeah, that's the difference. So
Mhm.
it's not like and I think even people who have done, a couple of shows or a show or whatever, it isn't that they don't know necessarily how to coach somebody at all because they have experienced it. They've learned from their coach. I think just a lot of times they don't know the whys. So it could be problematic, kind of like the game of telephone where you're passing things along and things are going, you don't have all the information, you just have like the basic or whatever. But yeah, I get it. And for somebody who is conscientious like yourself, it feels like imposter syndrome because you want to know everything, all encompassing. And I don't think it's necessary for you to, like you said, be a good trainer. It's just for you to be maybe more of a leader instead, rather than someone who is in the chain
Right. I
with
mean,
the,
I applaud the confidence.
yeah,
I, but the same reason I keep putting myself in positions where there are much smarter people or much more knowledgeable people in the room than myself.
yeah,
And that's that, like yes, of course, like I want to lead. I believe I'm a good leader, but I also want to be led. I
yes,
don't want to be in the front because if I'm in the front, there's nothing more. And I think what a lot of people do often is cap themselves because they do have the confidence. They have enough of whatever information, knowledge, skill that they need. They have enough to do what satisfies them and their needs, and that's wonderful.
yeah.
I just apparently never have enough to satisfy my own needs.
Well, this is a good thing because it means that because the information that we get, the science is constantly evolving, and so you're going to be some. I mean, I know a ton of people who learned stuff in like 10 years ago, and they're still preaching the same things, and it's just like, yeah, we know, like you don't have to shock the body with new muscle, with new exercises, and like things that people would say. You know what I mean? It's just like, a lot of the stuff, fruit is bad for you. Like, yeah, that was very 2010.
That's that's another large issue with people in general is attaching themselves to their ideology. And I was listening to, I
Yeah,
think it was a Joe Rogan podcast. They were talking about this. I was meal prepping, and this is in the background, and it really got in my head because it's so true. People take a stance on something or they hear something, and now it's their belief. And if you rebut their belief, it's offensive personally. And you should be able to hear something else, see your belief,
yeah,
and then maybe your belief changes. Maybe your ideology changes. It should be like a fluid, constantly changing thing.
yeah,
It's not set in stone, and people act like these things are set in stone. It's like,
yeah.
it, I mean, I'll be talking to my mom, like she'll send me an article, like the first article that she read about this thing. Well, this says,
Right,
like, okay, what about the 15 that you haven't clicked on yet that say the opposite?
right, right. Yeah, and I mean, it's nice to have evidence, it's nice to have scientific backing for things, but really, a belief system is a set of rules that aren't necessarily factual that you need in order to make sense of what you believe and to be able to function with that. So it's kind of like what works for you. So you can't say, like, I believe and you should believe the same thing unless things are based off what the actual majority of the evidence says right now. You know what I mean?
And if our experience is
Right.
identical.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like, I mean, we could have the exact same experience all of our life, every single thing, and then and with the same brains and everything, let's say, and then one of us meets someone one day in a coffee shop, just says hi, shakes hands. It didn't happen to the other person. Well, now your experiences are different, and then you might be doing all the same things all your life, and you always meet at 5:30 on Sundays, but you saw this guy, and now today you're gonna go do that instead, and it's not wrong.
Right.
It's just made a decision according to your experience that you have.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
I
Yeah.
don't know,
Belief system.
kind of a bad example, but I think
It's a mix. It's a mix of the facts that you can accumulate and, what is working for you. It's so that your life and your actions and your behaviors make sense. So, but yeah, being open to, I mean, that's hard for people. That's why, like when we had the whole lockdown thing, it took so long for a lot of people to be unafraid because they were still locked into the very first information that they heard, and people were, 4 months later are still washing their groceries when we know the virus doesn't live on surfaces, I
and
mean,
people were like, you can get it from dogs. It's like, even if you could, like, fuck that. Care.
but I remember in the first like couple of days, I'm like wiping my seatbelt down, and I like seriously, it was probably that first week or two where it was
There's
just like,
no toilet paper and
yeah,
stuff. I was in West Virginia in the middle of nowhere for that whole time, and like when we ran out of shit, we ran out of stuff. Like there was no hand sanitizer.
yeah. People were cooking it in their bathtubs like it was the freaking like booze or something.
And nothing had happened yet.
Oh,
Like nothing had really changed besides some news came out.
yeah,
You read something, and now all of a sudden,
yeah,
the
yeah,
whole world is different. Wild.
yeah. So I know, but yeah, people do, they lock onto, whatever it was they were first fed when they were looking for information about something. And the same is with, I mean, this is why diet culture is so crazy. This is why, most women my age are like, I can't lose weight and I can't build muscle and I'm eating 1,200 calories a day. And if you're just like, my special K for breakfast and my salad for lunch, and then I'm binging at dinner time or whatever. It's like the same. It's the same. It's like, I'm sorry, we're all the same. And I'm sorry that you were so brainwashed by our stupid diet culture, but there's new information out now. And let's take the risk of letting go of what you thought you knew that hasn't been working for you. And let's try a new method. And shocker of all shockers, 8 weeks from now, oh my gosh, I'm eating so much more food. I feel better. I'm not bloated, all the things happen, but it's like, yeah, you got to take the risk. Do I look, oh, I was laughing because I thought I looked like Cruella DeVille. Had like the dark. Are you gonna be able to do anything for Halloween?
I mean, I was actually just talking to my friend Victoria. I think we're probably just gonna put on slutty outfits, take pictures, and like walk. There's like it's called like the river walk here. It's just like a nice area to walk in, like by the river. And yeah, I'll probably just do that and then sit at home and like smoke and not eat candy
Yeah. What is your diet looking like now? Are you in like some sort of you're in an off season? I want to
Yeah.
talk a little about that because so my last 3 podcasts were like a 3-part about my whole history of eating disorders over the last like 30 years. Yeah, and I know you know. If you know, you know, and I know you know, you know. So
Yeah.
what is how are you doing? When was your last show and how long have you been into the off season now and how is like the food thing going for you?
So I competed in June and July. So July was my last show.
Okay.
And so I went off season after that. Oh my God, like right after my shows for a week, I was like eating a lot.
Sure.
And I was, I also I stopped my season because I knew I had hormonal stuff going on. I was retaining a lot of fluid. Those 5 weeks between my shows when I should have easily gotten leaner, was doing everything.
Yeah.
My body, I think I dropped like, I went on stage maybe 2 pounds lighter, but I had so much fluid. And I like peak week, I was up, like before peak week, I was up like 5 pounds, just craziness. So there was obviously something going on. I got blood work done. Yeah. Sex hormones, thyroid hormones, pretty shot. So, but yeah, that week after my shows, I ate a lot and like for a week. Have you ever been so like full
Yeah.
in your stomach, but also like bloated everywhere, puffy, that when you go to sit up out of bed, it like hurts and you have to like roll? Have you ever been that bad? Because that was me for like 2 weeks after my shows, like just waiting for my ankles to go back down. Well, actually, the first week I perpetuated it. And that second week when I backed off, I was still like really swollen.
It was great.
Um, yeah, and then I got my food more under control, and um, food's been pretty good. So I went on a supplement regimen. I'm taking crazy amounts of pills right now, like 70 pills in the morning. But my blood work came back after 10 weeks of off of all drugs and doing my supplementation. My blood work came back perfect at the end of September. Yeah, I like better numbers than I probably ever had.
Nice.
So I just started like, I guess that would be like my off season. Now I'm like improvement season now
Yeah.
that I'm all healthy, and can kind of start some other things right now.
Yeah.
So my food was up a little bit and I've been around like 162, um, which I've felt great. I'm stronger than ever. But I felt like a little bit too fat and like puffy to be optimal. So I well was fine with it, but I'm going to an EDC festival in a month in November.
Yeah.
And I'm like, looking at all these outfits and I was like, I want to look good in these. I like it's not even I want to look good. I know I look fine anyway, but it's I want to feel good.
Yeah.
When you're dancing around half naked, you want to feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so I got with Shelby a couple days ago and we decided to start carb cycling. So my food is a little lower now, doing one day on carbs, one day off.
Okay.
And so far, I mean, I'm down 3 pounds from 5 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm doing like 40 minutes of cardio 6 times a week right now. Just walking on the treadmill. I decided screw the Stairmaster. My body doesn't respond to it well.
Yeah.
It causes a lot of. I think this is important for people to hear also.
Yeah.
Because people talk about better cardio equipment. I did my pro debut year, 2021. I did treadmill only my entire prep, and that's the most shredded I've ever been. This past year, yes, I had hormonal stuff going on, but I live with Rachel Daniels, and she's a badass on the Stairmaster, like level 14 for an hour straight. And of course, I'm like, I want to go hard, like I want to be as intense as possible, but that works for her. I
Right.
did Stairmaster this past season, and as I got leaner and I guess some of my issues started showing up, each time I would do cardio, I would start fluctuating. So
Yeah.
then, we would play with doing Stairmaster on a lower level. And then like the last 6 weeks leading into my shows, I did almost no cardio. I would now like 12 to 8 weeks out, I went all the way up to 80 minutes, maybe 90.
Yeah.
And then we started tapering it down, and then most days I didn't do it at all. And I would improve, and then I would do it, and then I'd fluctuate.
Yeah.
And I was doing Stairmaster. And so I decided now I like the treadmill. It's comfy for me.
Yeah.
I go incline of 8, speed of 3.5, and that's how I do my cardio. And
Yeah.
guess what? It's probably gonna work better for me than the Stairmaster.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing, is like, just because it's more intense, it's harder, it's heavier, it
Yeah.
works more muscles at the same time, which if you're doing cardio, it doesn't matter. People talk about that. They're like, oh, do the row machine because it works your back. You're doing cardio.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm sticking with treadmill. But yeah, I'm super comfortable right now. I'm strong. I feel good. My skin's pretty good, which is, that's nice. Because once your skin's not good, it takes like months
Yep.
for it to be okay again.
Yep.
Yeah. So all around, I told you, like, yeah,
Life is
it's
good.
good. And,
I love that you brought that up about the Stairmaster because I agree. I've had people too talk to me about like, oh, well, I want to do HIIT workouts because it burns more calories. And it's like, okay, but there's always your body has to recover from this. So the cardio needs to be the least effective dose of like what's going to cause inflammation, what's going to raise cortisol levels. It's not just about burning the most calories in it, because then you would be running, right? Like, I mean, you could be running, or like you said, just tearing it up at whatever level on the stair climber. But especially like, I remember that was a big thing, again, like 5 years or so ago. And I would do a stair climber after like at a leg day. Like you couldn't recover from your leg day plus stair climber. Like no, like 3 or 4 days and your legs would still hurt. Like, I get sore from, stairs are brutal. Stairs, I mean, anybody who walks even up a flight of stairs, you're usually winded by the time that you get to the top. That just lets you know that, I mean, stairs are tough. So the recovery for them is not worth, if you can be ready to lift, which is the most important thing the next day, then obviously treadmill is going to be, or walking, stepping is going to be best. So I'm glad that worked out for you, but yeah, 100%.
I mean, we'll see, but this is my calculation. By my calculations, treadmill is worth that for me. But then again, I'm excluding elliptical and bike, which I don't ever do. There's no reason for that. I just don't, you have your thing.
Yeah.
Treadmill is mine.
And if it doesn't work for, I mean, then you go into like other options or whatever, right? So
yeah. And I think something that makes you like kind of like you were just saying about the soreness, if it makes you so uncomfortable to do it, it's probably your body reacting negatively. Yes, like, I mean, even with training, yes, it should be hard, but when something is off. And I think same goes with cardio.
Yeah,
to that. It's not something to push through.
There's so many factors with training too, is like, when something isn't working for you, this is why, it takes a lot of time, where people will be like, oh, I finally realized like there's so many other things I could do besides squats for my legs or whatever it is. I mean, it all takes time. It all takes trying something for a while, seeing if it's working for you or whatever. But
yeah, I was talking to, actually, so there's a guy who works at the front desk here. His name is Ryan. We hung out in high school. Like we were both from Baltimore. We hung out in like we went to different schools, but we were in the same friend group. So, but we were talking about how he said everything that he's learned about uh bodybuilding, fitness, everything, nutrition has been pretty much on Instagram. And he's had to try different things, and you find what kind of fits for you, what works according to your goals and your desires of what you want to be experiencing while you're working out. And I was saying how a lot of people will see what someone's doing, assume that's what they're supposed to do, kind of like assuming that original ideology that comes up to you, and then they'll do it because they think that that's the way, or that's the only way, and then they don't enjoy it, so they don't continue.
Right.
And I think it's so incredibly important to find exercise, a form of eating that you enjoy, because there are so many things that can be right. And as long as it is one of those right things, whether it's nutrition or exercise,
Yeah.
you're not wrong. There's just many ways to do it correctly, and you have to find the ones that you can stick to.
Yes.
Like that's and then people try and do something that they cannot stick to.
Yeah. I think that, so I feel like there's this scale, and it is people who bodybuilding is a lifestyle and people who are trying to fit bodybuilding into their lifestyle. And you have to find where on this scale. These are the people that can often do everything exactly, you know what I mean? And these are people who have to adjust things because they won't stick with it, like you said, unless it's more enjoyable. Whereas you got your hardcore bodybuilders, I think a lot of times they'll be like, I can do whatever it takes, foot on the gas pedal type of a person. And most of us are over on this side trying to figure out what we can do and enjoy it. Not that it's not enjoyable for these people. I just think they have a almost like a psychotic type of a, you know what I mean, though? There's just they're a different breed of people. These are your 1%ers, so you have to figure out, like exactly what you said, you have to figure out what you can sustain. And it might not be the same meal 6 times a day, week after week after week. So you have to figure out what works for you. And, again, that only happens through trial and error, seeing what you can sustain, while progressing towards your goal and getting results.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, Melissa, you're like a hardcore, aren't you?
And what?
You're a hardcore.
If I were to say so myself, yes.
Yes, you are.
I don't know what it looks like from the outside, but
And she does it with a smile on her face. Do you get,
like you just said, you have to, those people, and I guess I'm speaking as one of those people, I do enjoy it.
yeah,
Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. If I did it the way that someone else needs to do it in order to enjoy it, that would not be my version of joy. I
yes,
wouldn't enjoy it.
yes, you have to find out what your version of enjoyment is.
Yeah, and it's like complete, what is it, masochism?
Yes, yeah, you're you're a masochist for sure.
Oh, it's so much fun. I don't know why most people aren't.
You do talk about this a lot during prep, though, that you just love the struggle. And I think that's so cool. I think it's so cool. I'm like, I need ice cream.
Yeah, well, I guess they're all different.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, you like ice cream, but you also are aware of the effects that that's gonna have on you,
Yes.
but you prefer the ice cream.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prefer the effects that happen if I don't have the ice cream.
Yeah. But I also don't have ice cream every day. So again, this is like whatever your level is, because
Exactly.
that's a curious thing. Like if you could eat ice cream every day, and I know some of the women, like I know Whitney Jones, she's like eating Oreos and stuff into her show just because they're, some of these fitness girls are just burning so many freaking calories, or like I think Pat Goslin talked about like her burgers or no, Alex, I can't think of Small talked about how, because her metabolism is just,
Oh my God.
yes.
That like when she was working with Shelby, he like sent me her diet one time. It was
Yes.
like a box of Snickers, not a Snickers. Eat a box of Snickers as meal 8 or
Yes.
something. And it was like,
She was eating,
I was like, Shelby,
yeah, she was eating burgers and chips, she calls them fries, like for 3 meals, like daily. She just was like, have to go. And that would get so expensive too. I mean, you're probably spending $15. So you're like $45 a day just on your, unless you, I don't think she was like going to McDonald's or something like that. So I don't know.
that's for sure. Those are the
Like
best.
McDonald's.
I like Five Guys burgers.
Oh yeah.
I've actually never gotten a burger from McDonald's. I've gotten their chicken sandwiches and stuff before, but never a burger. They don't look appetizing to me. But Five Guys,
Five Guys is good.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, there's that. I mean, I'm sitting here like, God, I wish I could eat that much food and everything, but I do have the understanding that for someone experiencing that, it's like, I wish I didn't have to eat all this food in order to put on this much muscle. You
Yeah.
know, those are people who have a hard time putting on muscle. Now,
Yeah.
I like even when I'm like peak week and everything, or even if I am like when I'm zero carb for a while, I don't get terribly depleted looking ever. And I also maintain muscle well. It doesn't take a lot of food for me to grow. Like right now, I'm really not eating that much. And like I know I'm growing.
Yeah.
Like I don't lose, I maintain muscle well and everything. That's all a blessing, whatever.
Yeah.
But I really like food and I just can't eat a lot of it. So, yeah, like someone who's eating all that food wishes they could put on muscle more easily without having to eat all the food.
Yeah.
I'm putting on muscle easily and I wish I could eat all the food.
Yeah.
Like even in my off season, I can't.
Well, and there's definitely 2 different types of people. There's a type of people that are able to put on muscle quickly and don't get lean as easily, and then there's the people that have abs all the time and it's harder for them to put on muscle. And I guess I mean, I've always been the person that it's easier to put on muscle and harder to get lean, and I kind of like it that way. I mean, that would be my preference.
We just get thick.
We just get thick.
Luckily, that's trendy now. So
I know. Thank
you can
gosh.
keep your leanness. It's fine.
The 90s are over, baby. We don't like thigh gaps. We like them thick. Yeah, I'm glad though for that being the trend, because most women are supposed to be, I mean, we're thicker people. That's how we should be. You know what I mean? So it should be societally acceptable, especially after your teenage years, I would say. You start getting a dunk.
It's true. So one day, all of a sudden, it's there.
Boom. There you
Boom.
go. So one of the things, and we can end on this, I think this will be good. I hope this will be good. One of the things that I had talked about in the last couple of podcasts was what I've been noticing is that, especially with like these interviews and just talking with people. So I don't know exactly like what your childhood was like. I know that there is good and bad with your growing up. Did you have a narrative that your parents, like, let's say they went somewhere and they were like, oh, this is our daughter Melissa, and like maybe talking about when you were a child or something, did they have a story that they would kind of summarize like what type of person that you were? Any particular stories that they would always tell, something that you did?
I can't think of like, I mean, yeah, there were little stories, but I know my mom, even when she describes the young me as like stubborn and like not even in a bad, not in a bad way, just like stubborn and persistent and I'm going to do it myself. I don't need help. And I've heard her describe the young me like that, and I'm still like that,
Yeah,
but that's really interesting thing to like bring out, because like, I haven't thought about that,
right.
and it's like I really am like or we really do become, I guess, like a more detailed version of those things
Yeah.
as we grow up.
Yeah. And I've noticed good and bad, like people who've had like a negative narrative is that's the message. And it's like I feel like parents have unfortunately, fortunately, have so much power in creating the person that you're going to become. And I'm not saying that you can't ever change that narrative or decide, my parents got it wrong and they didn't maybe do a good job parenting or whatever. I would hope that you would be able to, somebody would be able to work through that if they had like a story that is negative. But yeah, like my stories too are same type of thing. Like you were always like driven and persistent, and and to this day, like my mom still tells me, about different stories like that. And I talked about it in the last podcast, but I've known like people who, when I ask them, and it's like, oh yeah, that's who I am. It's the story that they always told, like, you know, of what I did when I was 4, what I did when I was 8 or whatever. And I just think it's so crazy how powerful it is.
Love that. That is powerful. My mom told me that I used to fall all the time. I was clumsy, but well, no, it wasn't really clumsy. It was like I would like fall off of things that like the bed or something, because I'm a child just learning my coordination, and I'm doing risky things. But I would always get up and say, I'm okay. I wouldn't I wouldn't cry. I wasn't hurt. I'm okay. She said I
Yeah.
would just pop up. That's really funny. Aw, he's unlocks these memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's so valid today. Like I do things, I'm like, it's fine. Like I know it doesn't look fine, but it's fine.
Little window into who Melissa is. Yeah. Like it's funny. And I don't even know if it's the narrative. I mean, you determined who you were. Like, your behavior determined who you were, but your parents have that memory and they reiterate it to you. Like, so it's not like they're not creating you, but they definitely like, find something that's unique or whatever that's uniquely you.
Well, it's very important, I think, in conditioning of a young person's mind, uh, to hearing how you're perceived. That's going to condition you.
Yeah. Well,
Whether it's, ooh, my Siri thinks I'm talking to her. Yeah, whether your parents take away an explanation of you is good or bad, what you hear them say,
yeah.
whatever parts of you they are choosing to acknowledge, and you now hear about yourself,
Yeah.
that's not when your brain, because once something is said aloud, it stands out further in your head than the things that are only thoughts,
Yeah.
or
And
the things that
and it's just like what you said, it is conditioning, because when you hear the same story over and over, it's really, I mean, there's no way getting around thinking, not even if you're not sure if that's who you are, at least you're like, that's who they think I am. You know what I mean? And so, and that's tough because, we all have, whether we admit it or not, this desire to have our parents acknowledge us or be proud of us or whatever. I mean, I think that's just a natural, that's just our innate being. So, but I've talked
yeah.
to different people who've had negative stories, and it's after I've known them, and it's like, well, my whole life I was told this, and to me it's heartbreaking, because it's like, I'm so sorry that maybe they thought this was funny or whatever, and it's like, you've heard this over and over and that's who you became. And
I have an argument with
you
that.
what?
I have an argument with that a little bit. A little bit. I mean, not negating anyone's experience and reception of or anything, but I think it does come down a lot to choices, especially when you can look back and now you have an understanding of this is what happened, this is what I heard, this is who I am now. Is this a reflection of that?
Yeah.
Yes, when my parents, I guess, spoke to other people, they said, those things about me. My mother, everything is great now. We have a great relationship. But during those, 11 through 20, really, I got bitch, ungrateful, like, and it's not just like, oh, she threw that in there. It was on repeat. I believed, like, maybe I'm a bitch. I don't think I'm a bitch. People seem to like me. I have good relationships, but I guess I'm kind of a bitch. Ungrateful. No one's ever gonna think I appreciate them. I struggle with that. I feel like I struggle with the feeling that I'm being disappointing
Yeah.
when I'm probably not. It's just my perception of it, because I know that maybe I don't show gratitude as I should, but this is just how I am and how I behave, and I wish I knew how to show it, but it's not natural in the way that she wanted it at the time. So that, I mean, that is stuff that I also I can now, I've now been able to pick that apart and know that, like, that is not what defines me, but it doesn't take away from the fact that for a long time, and still subconsciously, I believe those things about myself,
Yeah.
right?
I'm not saying that there's not other parts that aren't without merit, or that, even me, like I said, I mean, there's a couple of stories that my parents have told that, these are the ones that I choose to reflect on. These are the ones they choose to repeat. I think your mom would probably even say, like, hey, that was a time in your life when I didn't know how to respond to your behavior, and probably didn't handle it well. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying, I've had situations like that too. I mean, I have another one in my family as well, where I just felt like I was, I part of my therapy was never being heard. I'm the youngest, I'm the only girl, and it was just like, you know what
Little
I'm saying?
yeah.
So it's not like I don't have it's not like things weren't done wrong or parents didn't make mistakes, but I just think it's funny that I noticed this theme of, like, what pops into your head first is, these things that your parents did try to, because, you would hope that if somebody was like, oh, what's your child like, they're gonna tell a great story. I think about it like the things I talk about with Anna, like, um, my favorite story of Anna is she was like 2 years old, 3 years old, and I'd put her in the corner because she was disobedient, and she's like crying. She's like, I'm sorry, I disobeyed you, and she's like 2. And I was like, you were so articulate. Like, like, I was trying not to laugh because you were so smart, but you
Oh
know,
my God, at 2 years old, that's
yeah.
like
So
that's so
I'm like, yeah, and now she wants to go into teaching, English and doing writing, and a lot of my stories have to do with how smart she was, and how she was very articulate at a very young age. And I think that stuff shapes you, even if there is obviously mistakes, or that, I mean, the teenage years, I mean, thankfully I haven't had that with Anna. She didn't have anything too crazy, but I know I didn't get along
how old,
with. What's that?
how old is she?
She's 17 now. So, yeah, I mean, I I have had every stage of her life. People are like, "Oh, wait, like, you're going to have this or whatever." And I'm like, never happened. Like, we've made it through. Like,
Like, I raised an angel, so
like, yeah. So, but but and that can happen it can happen at any point. You know what I mean? Like, I've had a couple of falling off points at later parts in my life as well. So you never, the journey isn't over until it's over. But um I don't know. I just think it's really funny. That would be like my challenge to the listeners, just to be like, what was your narrative? And is it valid? Is it who you are? Or, if you became something that you were told and it is not savory, that you can, like, that's not your fault and you can make that change anytime.
Right. Understanding that it is something that was conditioned. And if you don't like that about yourself, you can change that. All you have to do, I mean, the first thing is like noticing it, making that connection.
Yeah.
And then you just work to be the person that you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I think a lot of it is with undoing things is just a lot of what you said, that almost like the imposter syndrome, like you have to be it before you're there. You know what I mean? So tell yourself, this is who you are. This is what I am. This is what I do. And, if somebody's like, oh, well, you don't, like, I always say, like, oh, I'm a morning person. And if somebody was like, you're not a morning person, like, well, I mess up sometimes and I'm working on it. But because you have to tell yourself what you want to be until you get there, Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it was so nice catching up again.
It is so nice.
Yes.
No, I adore you, and this is so much fun. And I hope that Brooke and Kira can join us soon, because
Yeah.
I haven't talked to them in a while, and I would love to
Yeah.
get their insight on our things that we speak of.
Yeah. I want to talk more about contest prep. I know Brooke is in the thick of it. Next week will be 8 weeks out to the Olympia, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about with her, and obviously Kira has been through Olympia preps before. What do you have next week? I know Brooke said she probably could next week, and Kira too, but I think you're gonna be gone.
Like what day? Like Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday or maybe Saturday. What do you got?
Saturday, probably not. Hurricane is this weekend. Hurricane Bay
Okay.
Pro Am, whatever. That's this weekend, so
Okay.
there's a lot going on. But Sunday probably.
Okay.
Saturday.
I've gotten some messages and people are like, we miss the chick chat, which I get it, because one of the ladies even said, she's like, it's tough because there's only guys chatting and I miss the girl group, So I know it means a lot to people when we can all get together. It's just really difficult for us all to get together. So
You know who we should have on here?
Who?
Marissa Andrews.
Oh yeah.
She's so fun to talk to. I adore her. She's gonna be in town with me this weekend. So.
Oh, nice.
On Sunday. Maybe she can.
Hi.
Are we closing?
We're closing for now.
Okay. Can I get out after you, or would that be a problem? Like, will it set off some alarm?
I don't think so. No.
Here, I'll be out in 2 minutes.
Okay, you're fine.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Let me wrap up and then we'll talk about quickly what about next week. So hey everybody, thanks for listening and watching to another episode of the Women's Fittest. This was Chick Chat with Melissa Brodsky. You can find her on Instagram is it Melbro Fitness now? Did you change your
It's Melbro_IFBB Pro.
Melbro IFBB Pro. You can follow the podcast at the Women's Fittest. Go to Apple, leave a 5-star review, leave a written review. This will be on YouTube. Support us, blah, 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 blah. We love you. And remember that healthy looks different on everybody. Have a great day.